David. You get hold of David from try outside because it's scary anybody.
Shatter the table.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the Town of Sylva Board of Commissioners meeting to order. First thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda. I would entertain a motion to do so.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. Motion is approved. Now's the time for public comment. Okay, today, so we'll close the public comments and go on to our reports. I just got back from the North Carolina Mayors Association meeting. It was held in Greensboro, and the League of Municipalities started their listening sessions there. This is where they listen to towns on what matters are important to them that the league may need to lobby and talk to legislators about. So, and I sent everyone invitation to the one there's gonna be one in Hendersonville on Tuesday. So if you would like to come to that, please register. There's no cost. And I think lunch is provided. That's my report. I'll go to Mary for hers.
I have no report today, thanks.
Okay. David?
The only thing I have to talk about real quick is we've had some issues lately with our sidewalk policy. And it might be time to do a review of that policy, see maybe if there's places we could improve it and address some of these issues, recurring issues that we're having. I think one of the problems that we're having is, one, the cost of the sidewalk is getting prohibitively expensive. Everything is costing twice what it did a number of years ago. But obviously we still need sidewalks. So I think, I don't know if we want to have that as a board discussion, or maybe I could sit down with staff and maybe come up with some suggested improvements. We've talked in the past about, instead of requiring them to build a sidewalk, to contribute to a sidewalk fund, sort of based on the linear square foot or the linear feet of sidewalk you would have to build. And then we could put that wherever we want the sidewalk to be, to address sort of the issue of the island sidewalks. And then, there's maybe some other ideas, if you can have different rates per linear foot of sidewalk, depending on, whether the business is locally owned or if it's a franchise or a chain. I don't know. I think we need to maybe sit down with that policy and do some brainstorming. So maybe if people have suggestions for what could change, or maybe we can review it in a meeting. I don't really know how to go about it, but I feel like there's some issues that need addressing on that. I can look at it and maybe come up with some ideas and bring them back to the board. If that's more helpful, and other people can do the same. And that's all I have.
Thank you, David. And
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, first I want to agree. Dave and I were talking about the sidewalk issue, because it's becoming prohibitive for businesses to kind of get open. And I think it's definitely something to talk about, and I would for sure be on board with having a discussion, however we wind up doing that. But I'd like to kind of put that on all of our radar here. So today, a couple things. Last weekend was our second annual Pride. I want to thank the town for all the help y'all did. Being out there, Chief Hatton and everybody was very present. Felt very safe. And I saw Mike out there as well in the fire truck, and I know Jake wasn't there that day, but your folks were in support. So just wanted to thank everybody for a very successful and safe Pride. I think that the big take home for me is that it shows young people that the community supports them and supports being who they are. And I think that's a really important thing that we as a town and community have done, having that pride. So that was pretty awesome to do that. Second off, was just quick, COVID boosters are available. And they're the fine-tuned ones with the new variants. Definitely worth getting for someone who's super high risk. And the health department's going to have drive-through for both flu and COVID boosters starting October on Tuesday and Thursday. I think it's from 2 to 6 or something, but double check. Is that right? 2 to 6? Yeah, 2 to 6 Tuesdays and Thursdays. No appointment, just drive on through. And let's see. So the other thing I wanted to bring up, and I've brought it up, and it's kind of a tough subject because it's kind of a big deal, but I really want to bring this up, and it's about the Poteet Park bathrooms. So we have one set of public bathrooms now. We have plans for others, but the ones we have right now, I keep hearing things that it's disgusting, it's an embarrassment. And I've gone in as well, and they're in terrible shape. And again, I just want to be really clear. It's not that they're not clean. Jake's crew keeps them clean, stays on top of that. It's not a cleanliness issue. It's the fact that they're, I don't know, 20 years old or whatever, and they really need to be redone. Unfortunately, this has kind of fallen. I feel like we're a little bit behind on this. This probably should have been, something we talked about at budget planning last year or the year before, but we didn't. So, but at this point in time, I want to kind of get that discussion going. I understand that a lot of the town staff has major projects right now going on. But it's something where I've talked to the TDA. It's definitely something that would fall under the TDA grant. They could help us out to, not just clean these, not just put paint on, but actually rehab them and renovate the downtown bathrooms. So what I'd like to ask is that staff be able to at least start the process, get a quote, because the TDA grants open up in January. So if we could at least get some quotes, not actually start planning for construction, it would be nice to have it done by the spring, but at least get a starting point and get to the point where we can start getting ready for the grant cycle in January, and see if we can get that some help from TDA. And I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in, or Paige or Jake, if you all have anything, but I just think that the time is now to get on top of those bathrooms.
I think the grant cycle, I think that it's due in January.
Right.
So we need to do that now.
Yeah, no, as I say, right, we need to start at least get the quotes, get the things so we can get the application in. Yeah, not actually have the construction going by January, but at least have the things in place, find out what needs to happen to get that our application, our grant application. Any thoughts or anything? Does this need to be an agenda thing, or my fellow commissioners?
I really feel it needs to be agenda, because if you look at the workload and the projects that we have going, we'll have to delay something else to do that.
I would be okay. I'd be okay to delay the new bathrooms. I mean, we should take care of what we have right now. It sounds like our new bathrooms are going to get pushed back anyway. So, but do we do an agenda, or what suggestions?
I think
happy to
we
make
should put it on an agenda.
agenda. Okay, gotcha. We'll make it an agenda item next time. Thanks.
Anything else?
That's all I got. Thanks.
Yeah, that's those bathrooms are a problem. So I would definitely support putting it on the next agenda. So one thing, and that's we're going to have our design committee and the Live Lab downtown are going to have a little skate themed show for our new skate equipment, and hopefully do some fundraising for the larger park, which comes later. And I thought it would be cool if we could, this is on the 28th or the 30th and the 1st of October, from 6 to 9. And I thought it would be cool if maybe one of those nights we could block off a loading zone and bring a couple of those tricks over to Back Street and do a little skating in the street, if that's possible. Little demo maybe, something like that. We're gonna go look at the equipment after this meeting, so,
Hold that thought, Pete, look at the equipment.
okay.
It's not super portable.
Right. I still think it would be cool to bring the Jersey barriers out to that little section, maybe 5 Jersey barriers and just have a little demonstration. I think I'm hearing that the Blue Ridge Roller Girls will be in town and that'll be fun. So we'll have all kinds of wheels that night. And I think it would be cool to just have at least a section on the sidewalk that we could play in, or I guess the street. Not blocking the sidewalk.
So you couldn't do Main Street or Mill Street, but you could do a town maintained street.
Bridge Park.
Yeah, Railroad Avenue,
or Railroad.
as long as we don't have a park rental.
Okay. Great, I'll keep that in mind, and I hope you guys can drop by, like, it's gonna be a fun show, so. Multimedia.
When is it again?
The 30th of September and the 1st of October.
Okay.
16.
I don't have really anything to report. I did want to say that voice support for looking at the sidewalks and the Pro-T park bathrooms, so. Yes, that's awesome.
All right, thank you. Then we will move on to manager's report.
Just a couple of things. Commissioner Newman, Amanda and I attended the school governance class on rules of procedure yesterday. Tax bills are mailed on Monday and we'll decorate downtown after this meeting so that the decorations will be up for Mountain Heritage Day this weekend. The parts for the skate ramp came in this week and Jake's been working to get power and security cameras installed behind motion makers. Unfortunately, the cost for construction on Allen Street and Bryson Park is over budget for the slope repairs. The shortfall we received the 14th was almost $620,000 over our budget, but that amount still included the sidewalk. What happened was the cost of grading and materials has just skyrocketed, and it's making a lot of projects more expensive than we initially anticipated. So Jake and I asked the engineers and the company that will do the construction to look at prioritization and value engineering to try to get closer to our budget. But this will not impact the Bryson Park improvements. We still got a lot of money to really rehab and redo that park. And we're hopeful that this can be reduced to tighten the budget. We meet again September 29th to review our options. And then the board will hopefully approve this contract October the 13th. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that. But also, moving on, I learned that from in our TCC meeting this week that the 107 construction, the right of way and appraisal process are taking a really long time. So that's moving the construction date from 2024 to 2025. Our auditors were here doing field work September 12th to 14th. And just a reminder that the Bridge Park RFP is due September the 30th. And I am planning to attend the legislative goals session on Tuesday from 12 to 2:30. And so please let me know if you want to go and we can carpool to Hendersonville together. And or if you can't go and you have suggestions of legislative goals, please share those with the mayor or myself and we'll pass those along. And then Walk for Hope is October 1st at 10 in the morning. But other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Paige. Does anybody have questions?
No, so with Allen Street going over, so I haven't even started digging or over our budget. Yeah. What happens when we're halfway through it or we've already started digging? What are the guarantees about the budget? Like, is that in the contract or how does that work?
It'll be in the contract that change orders will have to be approved. Then
most likely something will happen and we'll need to come back to the board to approve a larger budget. I mean, that's just
How these go.
realistic with this. So then we look at where we can find money to meet the shortfall.
The budget right now has the 10% contingency built into it already, so it can handle, it can absorb some.
Right.
So if we sign the contract at our first October meeting, then when would construction start?
Within a couple of weeks,
Okay, so now we're looking at beginning of November for a start date, you think?
probably.
And then have we gotten any proposals for the grid park?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, there are several firms that have called to ask questions.
Okay, so there's interest. How many do we need to receive a certain amount or just one?
No, we don't need to receive any specific amount.
Right, and I heard, mayors talking the other day that, project costs have gone up anywhere from 30 to 50%, which is unbelievable. So we have all this money, but now we need even more money. So that is very discouraging. But it's not just us, from what I hear.
So is that something that we should start asking our state reps about, the ones that got us the money in the first place? I mean, we're already rolling around to another budget session, another legislative session. I mean, I don't know, should we?
No, what we're gonna run into with grants is delaying the project further to wait on grant contracts and grant funds. And I think we need to see where we can find cost savings, prioritize things like the sidewalk and taking out the sidewalk to do the repair, seeing if there are ways walls can be repaired and stabilized differently, and see how close we can get to the budget, because the longer, as we've seen, the longer we wait, the more this is costing.
Yeah.
Maybe we could integrate the sidewalk design into the park. So instead of having it next to the road, it snakes through the park. Would that be something that would be
I mean,
thought about when you're designing it?
there may be some cost savings in that, but it really just comes down to a budget shortfall.
I hate to lose the sidewalk, and we're telling people they have to put sidewalks in, and we're not gonna put one in the park. That's
But thinking on the sidewalk requirement thing, if we had people contributing to a sidewalk fund, private businesses don't have access to the grant opportunities that we do. We could have matching sidewalk fund grants. So, we could still do this sidewalk outside of the funding for the Allen Street repairs and try to get matching grants to reduce that cost. And maybe want to help trusts or something, because that really falls within their fishing goals easier. Wouldn't give up on the sidewalks, but maybe we can change where that money originates from.
Right.
And have you all kind of thought about like the barest bones, fix for Allen Street and how much like the just like the roads, the stabilization, whatever, because I just feel like this is I'm feeling that this is gonna just suck us down. It's just beginning. And
I mean, that's what they're working on.
yeah, like just the barest of the yeah, because then that's what we should maybe shoot for anyway, out of the gate. Because we know it's gonna, go into it having extra money.
We're not working on various bones, but
Have that idea.
how they can still stabilize it, but do it at a cheaper option.
And do they have it set in phases? Or are there phases, like some will be done first, phase 1, phase 2 will be, I would think the slope repair would be phase 1.
Some of it has to, just because the way the work's gonna have to be completed, it will. The way we have the slides separated into north and south. The excavating will have to be done first. Because of mobilization and stuff like that, when they're here with the equipment, they kind of need to do all the excavating and all the drilling and all that stuff at the same time. So it's sort of just because the linear fashion of the way the work will have to be completed, but it hasn't been delineated into specific phases.
The sewer line relocation or the water line relocation, that it was like 100,000 for that. And Fossa said they could do that in-house or something to save us that money, but then that maybe changed when we got the grant. Did that change, or is that still off the budget sheet?
So that's included in the budget.
Would they be willing to take that back on themselves as they were originally, or
That's something we can talk about.
that was 100,000 or so, wasn't it? Was it sewer and water or just the water line?
Both. And then the pipe that was spec'd, they can't get, so Daniel gave them some other options. So that might be changing the cost there.
Any other questions? All right, then we will move on to Public Works.
I wanted to meet with Greg today to look at this skate ramp stuff. We're waiting on Duke to set a pole and a meter back there so we can get power and our surveillance up. After that, I'm setting aside 2 days for construction and, well, it's really assembly, but we're not really sure exactly what we're up against there. Company specs 10 hours. I'm thinking we can do it a little faster than that, so. Paige and I are working with Ann Wade and Becca Scott of the Southwestern Commission to apply for a rural transformation grant to fund the bridge park improvements. Since that project's shovel ready, I think that's a competitive grant, but I do think, and the Southwestern Commission agrees we're a strong candidate for that. Even though we prioritize that for ARP funding, I think that's a good way to free up some of that money, especially given the higher price tags that we're seeing across all these major projects. Rooftop HVAC unit at the PD has been installed. That work's completed. The Allen Street Bridge repairs, those are ongoing. That work should be completed in the next week or two. They had to wait on some materials as well. But that bridge is going to be in excess of DOT specifications upon completion of that work. October 6th, town staff and I will be working with Jackson County Department on Aging for their annual Hands-on Jackson event. We're going to conduct several service projects through town limits. And on October 14th, I'll be attending the School of Government course in Asheville on practical analytical methods. That's
Question about that. So the Allen Street Bridge, you're talking this bridge right out here, right outside. So what's going on with it? I kind of missed that.
so some stress cracking and abutment work that as a result of the biannual inspections that we have that the DOT pays for. And basically what they do is they send out an inspection team and they give us a report saying this bridge is in good shape or this bridge is in okay shape, but we recommend these repairs or these repairs are, you know, we're going to require these repairs essentially. So we haven't lost any load rating on that bridge, but there was some cracks and some exposed rebar. And because of that, they suggested that we do the repair. Rather than let it get worse where it would be extremely costly, we decided to go ahead and do those while they're.
And that's the town?
That's a town-owned bridge, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
Just thinking, so when the construction for Allen Street starts, where are all the construction vehicles going to be going? Sorry, I just thought about that. I was like, are we going to have like construction vehicles going back and forth over this bridge, or are they going to go from Chipper Curve? Have you thought it like is Chipper
I
Curve?
don't anticipate a need for them to be on this bridge.
Okay.
When they start the excavating, most of between the brick or the Bryson Park parking lot. And they'll be excavating service entrances off of Chipper Curve in 2 different locations. So a lot of the heavy machinery will actually be sitting on the bank most of the time.
Okay. And so like dump trucks and stuff coming back and forth will go pretty much chipper curve. Like,
Yeah, between Chipper Curve and Allen Street.
yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah, but thanks for working on that grant. I think that might be the key, like to get one of these grants to fund one of these big projects, and that would be where we would find the money to do the bathroom renovation at Coty. Some of these little things that are suddenly becoming big ticket items. So, but yeah, I think that.
Police Department report.
Good morning, everybody. Cover just a couple things. I'm gonna run through, I don't usually get the chance to do this. I'm gonna run through some of our quick and fast numbers of what we've been doing this year. Just to give you an idea of the level of different types of calls that we're taking. We've had so far 260 accident investigations, 39 of those hit and runs, 33 animal related problems. We've assisted 77 motorists on our roads. 2,600 business security checks, 223 alarm responses, 218 fights or public disputes, 102 domestic related issues, 80 health and welfare checks, and 44 involuntary commitments, 10 missing or runaway juvenile calls, about 29 overdoses. That's slightly up from 2021. We've had, as far as Narcan goes related to that, I think we've had 14. Our police officers have used Narcan 14 separate times with folks. We've seen Narcan used much more. Usually EMS is who is the person that's giving that out, but there's been 14 times where our officers were there before, for whatever reason, they were the ones that did it. So we've had 126 reckless or drunk drivers, 140 shoplifting related situations, 33 calls for a suicidal person or someone making threats of suicide, and 143 trespass and remove person type calls. That's just kind of the quick and fast, some of the bigger numbers that we've had. Next thing, the Walk for Hope's coming up Saturday, October 1st. We always see lots of support for that. Thank you for that. And this year is going to be a little bigger than usual. The last 2 years, because of COVID, we've had to not do the actual walk, but we've sort of spread it out over a week. This year, we're going back to the traditional walk, and we're going to have a little, not just the police department doing this year. We're going to have some community partners. We're going to be doing some health screening and a lot of things that hadn't always been part of it. So pretty excited about that. It's been an interesting time since the last time I gave a report. We had a lot of things that we've started, a few programs that's gotten some attention that's been validating for us that we're doing the right thing, but also putting Sylva sort of on the map a little bit more. And so one thing is, this week we had another police department from North Carolina come, and they're doing, basically they've started a community care type program that involves a social worker working with their police officers in their community. And they're going to follow our model or replicate it in their town. And there's another that town's a little further away from here. And then there's also a local, pretty close police department that's coming, scheduling us to do the same thing. So it's good. Feels like when people start sort of trying to copy, it makes you feel like you're doing the right thing. So our program, the community care program, is really interesting because there's lots of big cities have plans that involve that, but almost no rural department, small departments. So we're sort of, with Western Health, they're a great partner, but we're sort of forging the way for smaller departments. And what a lot of people realize is our nation's law enforcement is 15-man departments like us. It's not big, huge cities. So we can find answers at this level. That's a lot more. That's a lot more useful for the whole profession. So I was contacted by the U.S. Department of Justice. They're publishing an article that's going to cover a lot of different topics, law enforcement related, and they asked for an interview. So we spoke with them for a while, me and some of the staff. One of the things that we talked about, the community care program, this will be in a national publication. We talked about the community care program. We talked about the VIP program, trying to supplement free ways to get the job done in this time for law enforcement, where there's a shortage of applicants. And then we talked a lot about hiring and retention philosophies and how ours has changed and how it has helped us since we made these changes. So pretty good on a federal level to get that kind of attention is good. And then we also got an interaction with the United States Office of Community Policing, and we submitted a community policing photo for a contest that they had, and we won it. So if you go to that federal website this month, the Sylva Police Department is the header of that federal website for this whole month. So that's pretty cool too. We've also we were contacted by the UNC School of Government's Criminal Justice Innovation Lab. And they partnered with the North Carolina Association of Chiefs of Police. And they are working on doing case studies across the state of different like co-responder sort of programs or social worker-based programs in police departments. And so they are going to be doing an interview with us along with our Western partners really soon. And then after that interview, they will decide we may be a case study for the entire state. And so if that happens, we in the community care program, we've already written a manual already for other departments, our interns have. And so if that happens, we'll be potentially a case study that they get sent out statewide as a model to show them the police departments how they can do it without having to go to a council and ask for a big bunch of money, a tax money. So pretty exciting stuff. One thing that's taken up a bunch of my time in the last little bit has been our homeless situation. And as we heard in a recent meeting, when we had somebody speak about that, we are seeing a definite increase in homeless here, folks, and our unhoused people and our community care program. And I know I keep saying it, but that program has really all of a sudden shifted to very important. The police department, from being a program that we thought was going to be helpful, it's shifted to the front pretty fast. So our community care liaison is dealing with different people that get these, our officers fill out referrals. We need to get some from the community from time to time. And with this homeless issue she's dealing with our homeless folks a lot. And so it helps us make relationships with these people. We get to know who they are. The program, once we take a referral from somebody, it helps us figure out what that human being needs. Sometimes they need to be somewhere else and they're trying to get there. And so we help them do that. Sometimes it's housing, sometimes it could be so many different things. But so this program, like I said, is front of the mind right now. We're using it daily and it's helping a bunch with this, but it's still an issue. I am hearing complaints. It's a lot of people. I learned a new word, community tolerance. Our community tolerance is getting low. There's a lot of people that are frustrated about homeless people and the issues that come with them. And so, and then we also have a lot of people that are concerned about those homeless people, making sure that their rights are protected and that they're being treated fairly and that kind of thing. So, but this is an issue that is coming up. So I just want to speak out loud about it. We at the police department are having routine meetings with our stakeholders that have different roles in that, even to business owners from times. We're dealing with the HERE program here weekly. So we are very much involved in it and we're trying to be ahead of it, but I'm just saying publicly, it is happening faster than it was for sure. The HERE program, if you're familiar with Greta, she told me a few weeks ago that they're doing wintertime level business now. And so that's a little shocking for her. She was expecting to not be that busy until when it gets cold. So there's that. And I'm available if you guys have questions any other time or whatever. I'm available. So let me know. I'll be happy to answer a question about what we're seeing. We've been working on our building, working on updates, keeping our building looking, and then the right shape. Jake mentioned he's got an air conditioner unit go out. It's fixed. We got to do awning on the back of the apartment. We've had our carpets cleaned, general maintenance stuff, but we're focusing on that. We've also, now that we're fully, we've got one open right now, but we're working on getting it filled quickly. And we actually have an officer here who's asking for a full-time position, and we're putting him on as a reserve. And so whenever the next opening happens, this fellow literally check mark on a box, he'll step in and take over. So we went from in really bad shape to all of a sudden now it feels good. We've got people that are ready to come to work. So that's a good feeling for us. And I don't think that's happening in other places. So that feels good. Then we'll get through my time. Now that we do have a full staff, we've been working hard on trying to fix and make our processes more efficient. Working on, we see ourselves going to a repeat call very often. Why are we going to this call? Now we have people that have the time to take a few minutes and find out what's the root problem here and can we fix this? So that's good. So I just hit my 3-year mark in August. 3 years, I saw everybody's face. Yes, it's the same face as me, 3 years. I love Sylva. I'm having a good time here and I appreciate all the support that I've gotten and work with Paige and Jake. I'd like to tell you, you guys know you work with them too. It's great. And looking back over my 3 years, it hasn't always been so easy. We've had some tough times and especially it feels like when I got here, it feels like the train went off the tracks for a little bit right about that time. But Sylva's an amazing place and I'm glad to be here. And I just want to say that. So, thank you. Any questions?
Could you share the manual that your interns wrote with us?
I can. It's a work in progress. I'll say this thing's growing always. The manual we are really working on too. The first manual is for the next community care liaison that comes in. Like this is how you do your job now. We always overlap them so that they get some on the job training too. But the second manual that I'm talking about is really a lot of the same manual, but it's for a different agency. Like here's how we do community care. Everybody's going to do it a little different because everybody's community is different, but we've been working on this for a little while now. And so what we're hoping to do is cut out a whole lot of that initial, we don't know what we're doing, let's figure it out kind of stuff. Like I said, this is what works and what doesn't work. We're going to put on an agenda coming up. We'll have Cindy from Western to come back. I want to introduce you folks to Gladriel. She's our community care person. She's amazing. And we're going to do a sort of like an overview of the program and show you some stats and how many referrals we've gotten. What have we been doing? What it really is. And so that'll probably be on the 20th, I would imagine. If I can get everybody's schedule one. Yeah, and that may be part of that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so proud to hear that we're like at this vanguard.
Yeah. Well, the issue is because no other small departments are doing it. Like I said, you can find every big city has this, but we don't have big city budgets, and that's the magic in this, finding a way to do it where it doesn't cost money. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and happy anniversary. We're glad you're here. Next, we have the fire department report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just want to talk about some of the calls we've had. We're up to 856 calls. In January, we had 762 the entire year last year. So business is up, which is not really a good thing for us, but then as far as our paid staff's going, it's going real well. Seems to help a lot on responses and things. That's going to be a big step forward. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Saturday, coming Saturday. We're going to burn one of the houses for training out on 107 to clear to the right of way. That'll be Saturday morning, and that's going to be right in Mountain Heritage Day. I found out the other day, but oh well, that's always scheduled to get back over there. We'll be out of the road, so it shouldn't be a problem. So if anybody wants to come out and watch us or anything, it's at Crestview Heights, you know where that is, on the corner there.
What's the time?
8 o'clock. Going to probably make till whenever we get done, probably about 12. So watch that. Everybody gets tired of it and then let it go. That's the way we do it. And also on October 1st is going to be our open house. Invite y'all to that. It's going to be from 12 to 4 on October 1st. Get them to the parade. So we got a busy time coming up. Really, that's all I've got. Any questions or anything? Yes, ma'am.
So with your calls, what kind of calls are you getting? Like, your calls are up for the year. Are they fires or are they first responder type?
It's kind of all of it, really.
Okay, is there anything, would you say there's more of one thing
Yeah.
year over year?
Overdose.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, we run a lot of those.
That's probably driving your number more.
That's
Say here.
running up pretty good,
Yeah,
but he's had a lot of fire calls and stuff too, on top of it. Rex, now it's pretty much the same. That's kind of the same every year. Fires go up and down, but so far we've had two since we went paid, that we actually had fire.
gotcha. Cool, thanks.
Right, on Saturday, do you have the capability for people to assist with something at Mountain Heritage Day or traffic wise, if you need to? Because if not, I mean, I don't know how big a deal it is to reschedule the burning, but
It's a big deal,
It's
because it's a state permit.
it's a lot of people in town.
You know, it's that state permit that we've been working on for like 30 days. You give them a date and that's the one they put on it. And so,
So Bernadette, when you send your calendar of events, will you start including the fire department?
yeah, we didn't realize it when we just picked the day, you know, Saturday.
How long do you think it'll take?
We're probably down to 12.
Oh, okay. Like a half day thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we're out of the road. So as far as that goes, we just probably not have any people.
yeah, like the fire part, that's probably gonna be the most, distracting thing I would think when it's like on fire. So because a lot of what you all are gonna be doing is like kind of after work cleanup kind of stuff, like, right? Or how long do you expect that there's gonna be like a raging fire
Probably an hour,
going? Okay.
around 12. Yeah, as far as the training goes, I was gonna see some smoke because we lighted inside, go and put it out, type thing. But when we let it go, obviously it's gonna burn, So about an hour, probably before it falls in, that's about what it usually takes.
So the most disruptive time, what would you say would be what, around
Right, 12.
at 12?
Yeah, somewhere thereabouts, probably.
And what you're worried that we might need traffic control or something?
Yeah, or accidents, or just because it's a lot of people coming into,
When our crew's still gonna be loose, tanks for calls. We're not gonna tie them up.
okay,
But as far as, we're not shutting down the fire department. We've done this lots of times before. That's what we always do. As far as people to direct traffic, I don't know about that one. Maybe afterwards.
Is there any way that we could get one of the town signs like the police have that say something about police department burned? So people don't think a house is on fire and they need to stop and do something. If that's.
We'll give it the chief and work out some stuff.
We'll come up with some.
Okay.
So you can't change the day. Is there a time that would be better, you think? Or first thing in the morning would be best?
The problem is, see, when you schedule this thing, you put it up top of your mutual aid and the surrounding apartments and everything. It's a pretty big
So
deal.
it's scheduled at that time.
And I mean, we could cancel it, yeah, but then we'd have to go through the permit process again. And the DOT's won't rid of it. They gave us the 24th, they were gonna tear it down. We were lucky to get it. It's hard to get one like that. They gave us the 24th because that's the time we had to have to get the permit, to be honest with you.
Have you filled all of your paid positions?
Yes, we've been full since the start.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Main Street report.
Good morning. Our Main Street program is sponsoring the Culinary Apprentice Program with the state and SEC. And so we have 6 merchants already signed up for it. We're really excited about that. The program is designed to retain culinary staff and kind of elevate the talent in the area. So it has a really good economic development ramification. We had a great merchant meetup last Monday, good connections with the partners. It was designed to help them acquire and retain staff, fund and grow their business, and buy their building. Those were the three areas that we focused on. And keep pushing out those resources through the merchant bulletin and various ways to keep them on task and knowing what those free resources are in our area. We also had a great turnout for the Bridge Park Boogie. It was the dance, if you don't know, for folks with disabilities. And it was great to see Katie Elders Morton and her crew kind of do some adaptations at Bridge Park to make it even safer. The nice thing is it's really designed well for that to begin with. So that was really good. And then we're getting ready for fall decorations, Street Street, all things Christmas. The Main Street Board voted on theme. My Christmas Story is the theme for the parade. And the Grand Marshals are story builders of Sylva, which is a group of folks who have contributed to the story of downtown Sylva through design, building, growth, and storytelling. So we're waiting to hear back from those, which ones are going to be participating. Sure. You guys have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette. Planning board report.
The planning board met last Thursday. They did not have a quorum, but they discussed the changes to the bylaws. So we'll hopefully be bringing those before you soon.
Any questions? Thank you. What's the report?
The only thing relevant for Sylva, Jackson Paper Lift Station, it is still on schedule because we changed the schedule.
Nice.
I think it didn't change much. I mean, I think October, November, so that's.
Any questions from Rick Lawson? Yeah. Peninsula Park report. What is that?
That's me. I wasn't at the last meeting. It happened last week, but I mean, I think it's kind of same as it was before. We have our route chosen for the next year in our plan. So I think we're closing out we're getting ready to send out the requests for proposals for the master plan.
Okay, and what's going on with the community questionnaire thing, you know?
Yeah, it's in progress with Chris Cooper at Western.
And what kind of things are you gonna ask? Have you come up with the questions or?
So they come up with the questions, you tell them what you want to know.
Yeah, so what is it?
It's what people want to see happen in Peninsula Park, essentially, what sort of uses they want to see, what changes,
And then is this
how they
going
use
to
it, who uses it.
Jackson County or Sylva or who are these questionnaires gonna go to?
That's a good question. There's a couple of different ways they can do it, and I don't think we've settled on a particular approach. They can do random calls in the area, they can do internet surveys. Unless they discussed that at the last meeting and resolved that was still an unknown question as who our target audience was. That was one of the details we were still working out.
Any other questions? All right, then we will move on to new business. The first is Bridge Park sculpture discussion. Okay, do you want to start or you?
I can start off. So Mr. Stems, the cat man, has offered to this cat sculpture to loan permanently to the town. And Greg and Bernadette and Main Street Committee have been looking at where they're
Right, so,
So this is at Burning Man.
Yes.
yeah.
Wow, awesome.
It's one of- There's actually a photo here.
Yeah.
Of it at Burning. So this sculpture is called Scooby-Doo. It's named for one of her cats. It's one of 3 that she made for the Burning Man Festival. And we met with Harold and his assistant,
Kimberly.
and he's sort of generously offered to loan it to the town of Sylva on a permanent loan. So we got a little art object. Let me go to the next one.
Black Rock City, yes.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, Harold Sims has the Museum of the American House attached out on 441. I would really love to find him a space to be downtown. That would be really awesome.
Yeah.
If we could find him a place. But it's full of memorabilia, it's full of all kinds of tchotchkes and everything is cat related, but there are no cats. So it's not like. And I think this would probably be one of the bigger things. He's got like a cat pinball machine. This is probably one of the bigger pieces that he has in his collection. Yeah, so Paige Tashner, there's 3 cats that she created for the Burning Man Festival. And he acquired one of them. It's made out of steel, and it's these concentric rings that are fashioned together to form this cat. Let's see, it's an interesting thing that the reason that she made it was to like, so when you sit in it, when you interact with it, it's sort of like meditative. It's supposed to do this sense of calm for the viewer or for the person who interacts with it, which is interesting because the campus theme of Western this year is mental health and wellness, so it kind of ties right into that. It has some features. It actually has LED lights in the eyes for them at night, and I haven't seen it or experienced this yet, but apparently when you touch it, it has a purring mechanism. So it actually is very highly interactive and very clever and cute. So I think that anybody coming to Sylva would love to just sort of check this thing out. It's very odd and very cool. Another feature of it is that you can change there's some gels that go on each concentric thing. So you can do like black and orange for Halloween or green and red and you can light that from inside. So it can be thematic. And that seems like a really big draw, like not just your normal front of the 3D objects. There's Harold's, and this is actually where the cat is sitting at the moment. That's outside the cat shelter. I went and looked at it the other day, and it's big. I mean, it's 15 feet long, 6 feet tall, and 5 feet wide. So not only is it like really cool, conceptually, but it's also very impressive. I was thinking that we would put this in the bridge park for the winter while we sort of consulted with the SABC to figure out where it might find its permanent home. So that would be like sort of an extension of the Tubman from last year. We had a sculpture in the park over the winter. And Bert and I went out and sort of looked around and we found this little spot, which is right next to the pedestrian ramp at Bridge Park to the left of the pavilion. Maybe just a few pavers in the grass to support the weight, just for temporary. Not really going on for a full pad in this location unless SABC decides that, or we decide that this may be a place where we would want for it to sit permanently. So try it out here for a few months and see what happens and go from there. You guys are all down with that and move forward with it.
Yeah. Do you need a vote? You need a motion? I motion.
Can we cut its tail off and make it a bobcat or something a little more, regionally?
We have plenty of
thematic?
cats around. Everybody has house cats.
We're actually getting a new catamount sculpture at Western, by the way. Just looks like
And just so Burning Man keeps coming up. I don't know that everyone is aware of what Burning Man is. It's like about a week long, not quite a week, several day festival outside of Reno in the desert in a old lake bed. It's a big arts festival that's out there. There's lots of structures like this. People build these things and bring them out there. And it's a big deal to have something that's been at Burning Man on top of fact that the art, the intrinsic value of the art, but the fact that it's been at Burning Man is a huge thing. Man, you have a local Burning Man.
They
But,
just had Burning Man a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's like Labor Day weekend.
So it doesn't get in the way right there for Bridge Park project, or like the Bridge Park watershed project.
Yeah, so the plans for the watershed project don't include this side of the park. I would like to expand that and think about what could happen here, but that's probably a conversation for another day.
What kind of power does it need?
I think it powers itself. It's either solar or battery powered. Doesn't need.
Unless we do the uplighting with the gels, that would probably need to be electric.
It has battery bank things, panels to charge it.
I think I haven't,
I mean, that's how.
like I said, I haven't seen the workings of it yet, but.
How do you move
assuming
it?
That's the way it works.
How do you move it?
Fair enough.
I think it's like somewhere around, Dr. Sims said that 2 people could move it.
Four, 500 pounds.
500 pounds.
You got that boat out of there, Maddie. You can do anything.
Yeah, but we didn't have to worry about mangling it.
Well, I'd be happy to go over and help with that. Aces.
Anything else? I think there are some good places in Bridge Park to put it. I had an idea, but. Take a look at it. Did y'all look at it by the rock?
Yes, we did. And we were considering the visual, appearance of it as well as kids getting on it and moving around it. And we felt like that wasn't as good of a spot because of the bushes that obscure in there. And that rock may be dangerous. If kids fall down.
Just thought that was a place that cats would go.
Sure.
Bushes, under the bushes.
This spot, it would be sunny and soft.
Okay, so good.
They like it.
And the permanent spot we have been offered, it depends on how they can prepare the site. But the owners of Sundog have offered that gravel lot, in front of the gravel lot between Sundog and Lulu's. And there are already mice on the side of Lulu's. And then Janine has been wanting to do like a hanging trout over there anyway, so it could be a really good cat space.
Does it need flat ground to sit on?
Yeah, we looked at this space. It's relatively flat. There's a, I mean, I'm fine with putting it over at that lot, but that lot, we had some complaints about that private sidewalk. It's full of potholes. There's some improvements that need to be made to that lot before we use public art in it.
And I would love for it to stay on town property, not on somebody's private property.
There's that.
Did you make a motion or?
I motion, yes.
What was the motion?
Yeah, but state your motion.
Oh, the motion to approve placing this structure at Bridge Park. That's where we want to, that's right, that's what we're gonna do.
Accepting.
Yeah, except
Accept the loan and place it there.
What's the cut? Do we have to, what's the pay?
So the value of it was 14,000 and to cover it with insurance annually is $73.
we're not saying anything.
Okay, is being donated to us or
Right.
leased?
Permanent loan.
Permanent loan, okay.
Essentially donation. We'll cover the insurance.
Okay, so I'm motioning to accept the permanent loan. And well, that's what, accept the permanent loan and then the placement really.
Yeah, this is where we want.
Yeah, but that doesn't need a vote. Or does it?
I mean, there's probably cost involved in pavers. I don't know.
Minimal,
Just some of those flat papers, or maybe $5.
I would just.
Yeah, we need something because the grass is gonna grow up underneath it. And I don't want the guys to be weed eating around it or anywhere, anything like that. Sure, y'all don't want to spray it with herbicides either. It needs something to sit on, pavers or a pad or something.
Yeah, but how you gonna weed it up there?
So that's why.
There will be no weed eating.
Yeah, I mean, unless you had to move it each time, but other than that, you'd have to build a 14-foot long flat surface there, kill the grass.
That's a concern of mine. If somebody can just pick it up and move it. And when you find a way where somebody can't just pick it up and move it.
Yeah, I mean, if you put it in the lot, you won't need for a path, but you might have a pouring path in the future.
But right there,
Uh,
but like, why don't we wait? I mean, is there a reason we want to get it in there now or wait until we have a permanent spot for it? Does he not want to hold on to it?
I was just thinking that it would be nice to have something in it for the winter.
Yeah,
Continue that tradition.
we can do some kind of temporary.
We could put it where Miss Tubman was for the winter.
We've got so many park reservations.
Yeah, I brought that up at the beginning. Seems like there's a lot of people that are gonna be using the park and that's what that's would give them a lot of celebrations.
Yeah, I mean, can, some gravel or something go underneath it or, I mean, is there some kind of temporary type thing? In the winter, the grass isn't growing much anyways. I don't know.
And if we kill the grass and we decide to move it, we can always
Replant, yeah.
replant it.
Can we just approve that we're gonna get
Yes.
it and bring it to the Bridge Park, and then if Jake maybe sees a better spot for it, at the Bridge Park, let him kind of.
Or you guys work on it, like the committee, our committee?
Bring it downtown.
Yeah,
It's up one and bring it.
okay.
Okay.
All right. My motion is to accept the permanent loan. That's Marcia. What's it called again?
Per pad.
Per pad.
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo, right, Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo was a doll.
Yeah, I don't.
You have an issue with that? No, I'm just confused by that.
But I'm watching it hard, it's not really mine. So I'm just, can you clarify the terms of this loan? Like, what if we don't want this thing anymore? But like, he still owns it, we're leasing it for free, we can terminate that, he can terminate that. Like,
I
can he
think
terminate
he's
it?
real flexible that if we need to take it back to Catman's shelter,
Mhm.
we could. I mean,
And then what if we find a permanent spot for it and do infrastructure work and he wants it back, can he terminate that? Loan?
he said it was a permanent loan. I don't think that he would, but those are things that we could probably,
This is a verbal
Talk to him.
agreement or writ?
we can get it.
Yeah, we could do some long paperwork for it.
Seems smart to do some paperwork on this thing, right?
Yeah.
If it's valued at 15,000.
Yeah, I can give you some templates of what we use in the museum for loans of artwork and we'll have a receipt. Okay, we can sign.
Okay.
So you want to, so should the motion be to authorize town staff to work out a lease agreement with Harold Sims for the permanent loan of the cat?
I can make that motion also.
So,
Okay, so we have two motions. To accept and to do some paperwork. And formalize it. Okay,
Put it in one motion and he modify his motion
okay,
since we have a thing.
okay, so I would modify my motion so that we accept the permanent loan and town staff draw up some official paperwork.
We have a motion, so is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Motion is
we're
approved.
just voting this. Yeah.
Mayor, can I remind everybody to talk into your microphone and not be so quiet and far back because it's not picking up voices?
Okay,
I have trouble around these two amplifiers and it's there, but. All right. We will now move on to the next item of new business, resolution for NC Department of Commerce Rural Transformation Grant.
Yes, this grant resolution is about the grant Jake was talking about with the Southwestern Commission. So it would be a partial award. The maximum is $950,000, but this is ARC funds that came federally to the Department of Commerce, to the Main Street program, and they're awarding the grants. So we would, if we apply for this or have the Southwestern Commission apply for us, the award notifications are mid-December, which is not a lot of time after we would have did it anyways. So the timing delay is probably only 2 weeks to see if we could get this grant. It is competitive, but seeing how project costs are coming in for other places, I think it's a good thing to apply for.
Do I have a motion that we accept this resolution? It's in your packet.
So
We have a motion. Is there any discussion? Okay, if there's no further discussion, I will call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. None opposed.
One other thing I'd like to bring up along these lines as we're looking for the firm for the RFP. These sheds for ARF and for the garden club will need to be relocated for the stormwater project. So please be thinking about what you want to do there as far as space at the other side or notifying them that this project is going to be happening.
should we go ahead and notify them? Or do you want to come up with a plan first? What to do with those?
I think that's up to you if you all want to host them on the other side of the lot. Or somewhere else on town property, but I mean, we're going to get to the point where this is going to start. And I think they need enough notice to move the buildings.
Maybe we should let them know that the project is pending, and if they have suggestions on where they could be relocated, to propose them.
Okay.
My understanding is that ARF is going to be housed at the new animal shelter, but it depends on the time.
Oh, they are going to do something there. Spay and neuter clinic and drop off and all that. Oh, that's good news.
I'm pretty sure I could get the garden club to relocate somewhere down here near, at our facility, kind of near Poteet also.
What's the timeline for that shelter being completed?
It's been delayed a little bit, but I don't know what the new timeline is.
It's quite far along.
It is far along.
Yeah.
Hearing no further discussion, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the proclamation for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I would like to read this, if that's okay. Whereas October is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas 1 in 8 American women is diagnosed with breast cancer at some point in her life, and whereas breast cancer is the most commonly recognized cancer among women in the nation and is the second leading cause of cancer deaths among women in North Carolina. And whereas the United States in 2022, over 339,250 new cases of breast cancer are projected to be diagnosed in women, and over 9,662 cases in North Carolina. And whereas one woman will be diagnosed with breast cancer every 2 minutes, and one woman will die of breast cancer every 13 minutes in the United States. And whereas every woman is at risk for breast cancer, even if she has no family history or no risk factors of the disease. And whereas in Jackson County, over 47 women are projected to be diagnosed with breast cancer, and over 6 deaths will be projected by the end of 2022. And whereas early detection can be an extremely effective tool, timely screening mammograms could prevent 25% of all deaths from breast cancer in women over age 40. And whereas 98% of all breast cancer patients survive when the disease is detected early, and there are over 2.9 million breast cancer survivors in the United States. And whereas October is designated as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and Harris Regional Hospital and Jackson County Health Department are joining the fight. And whereas community organizations, churches, synagogues, and other places of worship, as well as work sites, can play a special role in educating members or employees about breast cancer. Therefore, the Town of Sylva Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims the Breast Cancer Month of October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Sylva, and encourages all citizens to learn the facts about breast cancer. Further, all town residents are encouraged to wear pink on Friday, October 21st, and pink ribbons throughout the month in recognition of breast cancer awareness and in honor of women who have lost their lives to breast cancer, and women who are now courageously fighting the battle with breast cancer. Further, women are encouraged to talk to their healthcare providers about regular clinical breast examinations, get regular mammograms, and practice monthly self-breast examination. Dated this day, 22nd day of September 2022. Do I have a motion to accept this proclamation?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? Then all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Thank you. And I will say I am a breast cancer survivor. In 2005, my breast cancer was found with a routine mammogram. So I encourage every woman to get those mammograms. Thank you. Next on our agenda is police take home vehicle policy.
So this is an update to the policy that the board adopted in 2016. What we were running into is with the housing shortage in 2016, when we adopted this policy, almost all the officers lived inside Jackson County and a lot lived in Sylva. Well, now it's harder to find housing. So most of our employees are living in adjacent counties. So this policy increases it changes from 10 miles from city limits to being able to arrive at work in 30 minutes and take their car home. And so this is coming before the board because usually police policies are administrative, but this one's coming for the board because the board adopted it initially. And also because there is a budget impact of driving farther, fuel costs, wear and tear on the vehicles. But it is a recruitment and retention tool that is an employee benefit.
So you wanted to change this to say that they need to live within 30 minutes of the station?
in order to have a take-home car.
Question, so why, just step back, so this, why isn't this an administrative issue? I mean, can we make it so it is an administrative, you know,
Yes.
do we need, can we do that?
can.
So we don't have to kind of bring this up in the future.
Yes, you can do that.
But this is really a budgeting policy, right? I mean, this is a cost. I mean, with 30 minutes with an additional 10 minutes allowed as well. So I mean, this is meaning like taxpayer vehicles can travel 40 minutes twice a day to and from Sylva at taxpayer expenses. And I think that's why it's a board decision. Probably should remain that way. Right, I mean, that's a big increase.
But it also would go under the department, like the department, when they do their budget, would be like, we need this much money this year, this change. We would approve the budget rather than getting into approving different parts of the budget. Right? That could be how that would work. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but we don't approve every little change in the police. But if all of a sudden something comes up, like there's more fuel costs this year, we don't necessarily have to approve that unless the department head comes to us and says, hey, we need more money, whatever, and then we would approve it.
Right, I mean, it's part of the overall budget.
Yeah.
So that was another reason for bringing it before the board.
So, yeah, so my question is, so it sounds, well, I guess there are two issues. So there's one, you're asking us, is it okay to extend it? And since that's the way it is, I'm okay with that. But the separate issue is coming in the future, could we change that today or change it at another point where we don't have to have this come up before the board? I guess that's a discussion for everybody, like, do we feel like this particular thing, and I don't completely understand why this has, I mean, I do and I don't know why this can't just be in the department. Why it has to come up to the board.
I think it was just for transparency and moving forward, we can.
Yeah,
Only
okay.
about that, but just since we're the board that started the take home vehicles.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at. It'd be nice to I would like to do that in the future. So that's why I like two things. Yeah. So. Okay, so do you want more I would like the motion to accept this, unless there's more discussion. And then there's discussion. Yes.
So we have a motion. Is there further discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think, Chief, you would agree the emphasis you're placing on policing is community policing. And we want our officers to live in our communities, not only because it makes take-home cars cheaper, but also that's a better method of community policing. But in changing this policy, we're doing the opposite of that. And I'm disappointed to hear that most of our police officers don't live in Jackson County. And that's fine. I understand that it's, not everyone can upend their family for their job. But for a take-home police car, which is a benefit of working for the Sylva Police Department, a 40-mile round trip every day is tough to stomach. Keeping the policy as is, or at least amending it to not so far a distance, encourages people to, one encourages us to hire people and have people local apply for this job, but also to move to the area if they get the job. I don't think we want to give that up. I mean, like you mentioned, right now we have someone local who's trying to get on the police force. And if not having a take-home car when you live, you could live in Buncombe County and drive a police car to town under this new policy. If that rules someone like that out in favor for a local officer, I'm totally fine with that. I think that's better for our department and our town long-term anyway.
The officer that I mentioned is not local. He actually lives in an adjacent county.
Yeah, and I think the county requirement is probably absurd, right? Because you can live right over the county line in Waynesville and and probably still be within our current guidelines of 10 minutes to city limits or 10 miles to city limits and an additional 5-mile approval on top of that. So I'm fine with getting rid of the county requirement. But, and like you said, in there, miles and minutes don't correlate. So like if you're coming from down south on 107, a mile is a lot further than a mile if you're coming over Folsom in time. So I think a better, more reasonable compromise to maintain local officers is to say, 10 minutes within city limits with an extension of 10 minutes past that, which is essentially what it is right now, but a little more lenient in terms of travel time instead of distance. But 40 minutes away for a taxpayer, I mean, we're paying for that vehicle to travel that far. It's a significant expense.
How many shifts does an officer work a month?
An average of 15 a month.
15. Okay, so that's 15, 30 trips, but 15 round trips. So it's not like 20 days a month, whatever. It's not in every,
I'm happy to give him.
and it's not everything, and it's not every officer either. It's not like all of our officers are living far away too.
Of your officers right now, how many qualify for the take-home car?
I would have to look at it, but like I said, probably, a take-home police vehicle is a standard now.
Right.
And to disagree just a little bit, I know exactly what you're saying about we want local people working in our local police department. I totally agree with that. But the way that really fleshes out today is I have an applicant come to me, and if I say you don't get a take-home vehicle, he goes to work in Waynesville because he gets one there. Waynesville officers live here. They drive their cars here every day. So you'll see there's an Asheville car that drives here. So that's one of the things, the sacrifices that towns are making is in order to get applicants and quality applicants in, is they're making changes to these policies to try to get more people in. But totally agree with what you said. Especially for a community like Sylva, I would, if I can find somebody that's from Sylva, that is a way better hire than somebody that's moving here from somewhere else that nobody knows. They have to start all over that community. But the take-home car is crucial as far as retaining people and attracting people. And it's a standard, a lot of our local agencies right here in this area, they don't even have a policy for it. They'll let you drive your car or just say car. Like I said, I see an Asheville patrol car here pretty regular. I don't know that person who it is, but that's a really far drive. So that's the decision that has to be made.
How many miles, you might know this, how many miles go on one of these cars a year?
Depends.
Yeah, just kind of like ballpark. What I'm getting at is like what increased percentage, how much of an increase percentage wise would these extra miles be? Probably pretty small.
Ballpark, based on the number of oil changes we do, I'd say 10 to 12,000 a year. Pretty average.
Yeah, because these cars are moving all the time. So the point I'm making is like.
They're idling a lot. They're not necessarily moving. Idle hours and road hours are different.
Mhm.
And aren't road hours kind of good for a car?
It can be. There's some of the problems that we typically see on the older vehicles are a function of them mostly just puttering around town, not really getting over 45 miles an hour very often. The occasional, get on it real hard, but most of the time you're just kind of easing around. And idling a lot. That creates issues down the road. We'll start to see your standard stuff as a result of high miles, wheel bearings, increased oil changes. I mean, right now we average 2 oil changes a year on these cars. I mean, you're talking about a round trip to Asheville every day. That's like 4,000 miles a month. So there will be costs there. I can't comment on whether the retention will offset those costs. I haven't had time to review that, but
We're adding, I'm sorry, how many more miles are we adding? What's our, like, between what we have now and what you're proposing?
It's hard to answer because you're basically going off the shape of
Yeah.
the county, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like if you drive to Cashers, that's 30
I
minutes.
guess the point.
So you can live in Cashers
Yeah,
and be driving the same distance of somebody that would be included in this policy.
yeah. I guess it's just the map. I think it's a small percentage. That's the point I'm trying to make, that the extra miles on these cars is relatively speaking, not that great. It's not like it's, you know, it is an expense.
These cars are
Yeah.
expensive too. They're $55,000.
Yeah, but these extra little miles are not going to destroy the car. There's like these cars, like compared to what these cars do on a regular basis, it's much harder than these extra miles someone drives back and forth to their house.
Can I say one more?
Yeah, sure.
So we, as you mentioned, we have a budget every year, and we stay within it. And so, of the officers we've lost during my time, especially in the last couple of years, or a year for sure, the officers that we have hired in have had double the experience of the ones that we lost, which is, we don't like losing officers, but we do like getting officers that have got 10 years of experience rather than 5. A take-home vehicle policy like this is crucial for me to be able to say, I know you live over the line, you live in Haywood County, but you've got 15 years experience and you can get a job anywhere in police work you want to go work because everybody needs hiring. But I can give you a take-home card. It's one thing I can do to help offset your costs. And, you know, for that officer, it is an expense. David's absolutely right. And so, but for that officer, that's money he knows that he gets to keep. It's almost like putting it on his salary.
And I also don't want to create the illusion that highway miles are easier miles automatically. We don't really know how this is going to offset maintenance, affect maintenance costs in the future. We'll just have to see.
I like your community comment though, like that is a nice perk to having police cars in our community, and maybe that's offset by some of the surrounding living here.
But I don't have to tell you, housing's not good here. It's a problem. And I've got 2 officers that have been hired in the last year, and one's trying to rent, one's trying to buy. It's been months and they're finding zero. I mean, they're just struggling to try to find a place. And so, it affects everybody.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. The housing crisis is a problem, but we're talking about within, 30 minutes of Sylva is the story much different. I don't know. I mean, probably going west, it is a little better. So it's probably hard to move people east from there, but this is part of that incentive to get them to move here, right? That's why I like it as is.
Another way to think of it is sort of like a fairness kind of thing. If you have one employee who lives in Cashers, he's in Jackson County, he drives 35 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is to wherever he lives. Then you got somebody who doesn't live that direction. They live 20 minutes from here. You can't take your car home. You can take your car. You see what I'm saying? Like that whole, it's just the circle kind of radius idea seems a little better. And like I said, just for me, from a retention standpoint, a lot of our officers, these experienced officers, they're not from here. They're coming from surrounding areas. And so if I tell them, I can't give you a take-home car, that's going to be on you. And then, the sheriff's office or whatever over there says, I can give you a take-home car, no problem. So that just, that's the decision we make.
And I would just like to say, I know that hiring is one of the problems that everybody has that has a business or like our police department. So if you find a good officer and he lives out of town, you need to snag him or get him to be part of your team. And so I just don't think we should punish our police department by saying we can't have those people, because it's taken you the whole time you've been here to get a full staff.
Yeah, and I don't think time will tell, but I don't think this is going to be a situation where I come to you in a year and say, oh my gosh, the budget was wrecked, because I don't think that's going to be the case at all. And I think we'll be able to stay within our budget as it is. But so it's just it's really the standard these days. And like I said, really close agencies to us locally, they don't have a standard. You can drive your car home where you live, and so I definitely wouldn't be in support of that. That to me, that's a little bit reckless of money, but But it's just sort of, this is a sign of the times and change, industry that is changing as we're having to hire, we want the best officers. The analogy I use is tonight, if somebody in your family gets pulled over by the Sylva Police Department, you want the best officer that's pulling them over and making those decisions. So, if you limit yourself to just people that live here, it might not be the best officer. It might be, it could be a better candidate for that hire that lives in Haywood County.
Any other discussion?
I remember this discussion as like one of the first things that I talked about when I got on the board. And, one of my goals is looking at mission statements. This isn't a place to work. So I think if this is something that you need as a retention tool, then we should modify this. So, I would vote to modify the policy.
I'm sorry, do we have a motion?
Yeah, I motion. This is the discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Then, I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor of leaving? We're not changing it. This isn't a change that you've seen us.
Yes.
Updating.
Updating. Then, all those in favor of updating the vehicle use for the Sylva Police Department, signify by saying aye and raising your hand. All opposed. The vote is 4-1. The motion carries. Next on our agenda is a closed session.
Pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A3, I make a motion that we go out of session to consult our attorney.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. What?
Sorry, I just realized, wasn't there a motion discussion?
Oh, yeah.
This
Do you want me to bring that up at
Sorry,
another
that was-
time or? Yeah,
Right, but
thanks.
that's- yeah, another time.
I can bring that up for another time. Or do you want me to do it now? About having this just fall under administrative.
I think now's fine if you want to do that.
Okay. I guess I need some.
Albert said that you have been finished your motion.
Yeah, okay. So I would motion that that this, and it would just be the vehicle policy, right? The vehicle policy in the future would be an administrative issue rather than a board issue.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Have a motion. Is there any discussion?
Yes. I'm just confused. So why would this be? So if, for example, Jake's crew wanted to take home cars, that would need to be a board action. Like, I feel like the presence of a policy that involves take home cars should be board policy, right? Is that not typical? I'm just like,
I think you can set it up however you want to do it. I think you could say unless I think that a lot of the rules in here in this policy are standard and probably should just be a police policy. The budget issue is the only thing that would.
so then would they only be able to amend this policy at a budget cycle? I mean, they'd have to request the budget amendment to change something like this. I mean, it has budget ramifications, potentially large ones. So, I mean, how could you change this policy and not require board action?
But
If you all decided to.
yeah, but it would also fall under the department's budget. Like, if this is a department budget, right? This is coming out of general fund. This is coming out of the police department budget.
Right, and when you make a budget amendment, or at least certain types of budget amendments within a department, that has to come to the board. Right, like they're gonna have to move money from some other fund in order to amend their travel budget. I mean, that's
Well, there's probably enough in there in fuel because we budgeted for fuel increases, but the increased gas prices. So I think it really just comes down to if you all want to adopt this if you want to review this in the future because of the budget ramifications, or if you're all right, just with this being an administrative policy, and and budget amendments still coming for you.
Yeah, so it would be an administrative, and then, you know, and if all of a sudden there was a huge impact, then the department would can always come back to the board and say, hey, we're falling short because of this, we need some more money, and then it would be a board discussion at that point in time.
Yeah, I just feel like significant policy changes like this should fall forward. That's why we're here.
Yeah, well, right, but how significant is this? I guess that's part of the, you know, if it's. Yeah.
I mean, it's like the consent agenda, right? If it's controversial or has major ramifications, then it requires being discussed in an open session, right? It gets on the agenda. I mean, asking taxpayers to put the bill for, you know, a particular, like one of our departments, you know, like Jake's department doesn't have take-home cars, the fire department doesn't. For all of its employees, to then extend that to Buncombe County, I mean, that's a significant change. I would say it's significant enough to warrant for discussion.
I think this is semi-isolated because this is something we probably would have talked about in the budget cycles. It's just out of character.
Yeah,
So maybe just go with it for now, and then maybe at our budget meeting in the spring, we can talk about where the split is of.
yeah, what rises to the level of board discussion,
Yeah.
exactly, because I mean, is it money, or is it the fact that it's police officers? Or, you know, I mean, it's, because I know, you know, you guys will take the fire department truck home, or not the truck, but I mean, the pickup truck goes home at times, doesn't it? Because I used to see it at, whatchamacallit, Sylva.
Don't now.
Okay,
So wouldn't it make sense that this be in the personnel policy? I mean, that's essentially, and that is a board.
It really just applies to one department.
Right, so, but we oversee the town personnel policy. If this was a department, there's no other personnel policy specific to departments. Is there, like, we stick all personnel policies in that one personnel policy? There's just nothing specific in there at this point. I feel like this is where that should live, shouldn't it?
I think it really is standard for it to be in a police department policy and procedures manual.
because I mean, you run the risk of micromanaging a department. That's not what the board's job is, to micromanage it. It's to oversee. So, but if the standard is this would fall under an administrative, and that's a good, nice thing to know, is like, what does everybody else do? What's the standard of care? Whatever, the standard of governing. So the standard of governing would be, this police vehicle issue would be an administrative task. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess that's,
So then we want to just go ahead and change that. That sounds like that's standard. Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Or no?
I would like to change it to be, follow the standard of care, that's the police vehicles as an administrative issue.
Is that your motion?
That's my motion. Yes. Stand by.
Okay. You want to state it again for the clarity of the board and the people listening?
Okay, so the motion is that take home police vehicle take home policy fall under the administrative, become an administrative issue rather than a board issue going forward.
Okay, we have a motion. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion of making this an administrative item, signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Those opposed? We have four.
Sorry.
That's okay. Affirm and one no, so the motion still carries. All right.
pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A3, I make a motion that we go in closed session to consider.
Is there any discussion on that?
My only discussion is this is so sweet and I don't want to bring it up. It's the sweetest thing ever. I mean, it's so precious.
I'll take her home.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
For you when my kids were around, huh? I've never seen somebody keep a baby quiet. So it